Hey, everybody. My name is Megan, and I am your host of the second episode of the Dysfunctional podcast. Welcome. Welcome. I was thinking about what to talk about as I do have many things I'd love to talk about. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was loss. Losing someone, especially this episode will be about losing my mom. But loss has so many different dynamics to it, such as a job, a relationship with yourself, a friendship, a marriage. Like there's so many ways we can lose, right, within our life. But this episode is a tribute to my mom, which is a definite part of who I am, deeply who I am, and how I managed to live through that, still living through that. That's a question mark. So I'm the youngest of five kids. I'm the favorite. Yeah, I am. So shout out to me. I say that because I have none of my siblings on here that would be like, the fuck if she was. No, but lost my mom 8 years ago to breast cancer. I know I'm gonna like bundle up a lot of stuff that I'm not gonna break down. Um, on like her cancer, the evolution of it and how it happened and how it got to be worse and this and that. I want to go into the actual end of her life, which sounds pretty heavy, but it's some of these things are going to probably be my first of saying them. I do share a lot with my family and my husband and kids and stuff, but just talking about this directly like that. So bear with me if you see this ugly cry or whatever comes out is going to come out. So lost my mom 8 years ago to breast cancer. Because she was covered in so much cancer from her breast to her pelvis, they just listed it on her death certificate as ovarian cancer. She was diagnosed with breast cancer at a late age in her life. But she was healthy all the way up until it. I mean, yeah, had her gallbladder out and had 5 amazing children. And all that good stuff. But I want to bring you to it because my mother was my biggest supporter, my best friend, my fucking warrior in my corner. Like, when you think like, God, I don't think I could really be president of the United States. I could totally hear her, not that she'd be like, go get him, Tiger. She'd be more like, okay, what are the 5 things you need to do to get there? And when are you going to start doing that step number 1? Like, it was like, all right, here we go, here we go, here we go. So that's someone in my corner. I have fire. She just fucking fueled it a little bit more on knowing that I had her to fall back on. You know what I mean? I was extremely close with my mother. We lived about a block. We lived literally a block apart in Inver Grove Heights back in Minnesota. And so to bring you up to speed on the end of her life, I remember when she was in the hospital and my family was there. And at the hospital, when she chose to no longer choose any more medication, any more treatment. At this point, she was in a lot of pain. She was getting her lung drained a couple times a week. It started where it was like once every 4 months and then once every 2 months and once a month and twice a week. And the poking, literally how it sounds, poking to get the fluid out of her lungs, just to drain them so she could breathe better. So my mother decided to choose hospice. At the hospital, she told the nurse that she wanted to be put into a care facility so that she wouldn't burden her children. It's kind of funny how like now that I'm a parent, I can see where that came from. Or being older, I can see where that came from. But then being like, God, how many times we fucking burdened her, right? And that's not really the word I would really like to use. That she burdened us, But we said, no, you're coming home with us and you'll be there and we have a room and you can be there and you can have the door shut, you can have the door open, you can do whatever you like. No, 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 I wouldn't want to do that. And the nurse is like, my mother's name was Sherry, and they'd be like, Sherry, you can decide whatever you want. And my siblings and I were like, no, she can't. She's coming with us. And I'm like, that's just how our family is, right? It wasn't that, and the nurse had to be kind of careful because, there are families who probably come in and they have abusive relationships with the patients and their loved ones, and their families. So the nurses have to be more on alert for that. And this wasn't that. It was just my mother trying to not be a burden. And I was like, I'll bring on the burden, bring it on. And so my mother chose hospice. Once she chose hospice, she was with us for 2 weeks and 4 days. I remember when the hospice showed up at the house and they come in and they bring in a really sense of calm, which is amazing. I mean, you wouldn't want someone coming in and being like, "How you guys doing today?" Like the stupidest fucking question you could ask, right? Um, but I remember a woman coming in and saying, "Hello, Sherry," and my mom was like, "Hello," and she was like, "You look lovely," and my mom was like, "How long is this gonna take?" And she's like, "Oh, the appointment should take about 30 minutes. We want to just get to know you." And my mom's like, "No, this dying thing. I chose hospice yesterday and I woke up today. Like, is God still trying to teach me patience? Don't I have patience after all these years?" And I'm just like, so I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She's like, "No, let her get it out." I was like, "Oh no, that's like baseline. That's her naturally. That's not her going in some. She's not in like some dying process right now." So she kept it real till the end. Uh, and then they brought in like, they had people come and play music. She loved bluegrass, loved the Neil Young. And so they'd play that for her. Then they brought in these little jar of oil and they were like, you can put this oil on your skin. It's been blessed. Like, and my mom's, and they're like, it'll make you feel good. It'll, you can let go of, put your sins into it. And she had a comment for everything. That's where I get it from. But she was like, "Does that come in a 5-gallon pail?" I feel like there should be like boom, boom, like when I say that. But these are actual words that came out of her mouth. And the people like, they want to laugh, but I feel like they also want to be respectful to like, oh, they were wonderful. But one of the things they said was, while she's in your home, you're not going to want to sleep in here. You're going to want to keep your distance. They were telling me this privately. You're going to want to keep your distance. You have your 4 kids, your husband. So, stay in your bed. Yes, visit with her in her room, but there's going to be things you're not going to want to see or hear as she goes through the dying process. But you're definitely going to be her main caregiver. And so I was like, for sure, definitely. I think the hard part was during her cancer for a couple of years that she was struggling with, her breast being removed. Then she was perfectly healthy, to feeling something wasn't right, to surgery, to chemo, to losing her hair, to this, to that. It was such a busy process of getting another appointment. Okay, we'll have an appointment in 2 weeks. Okay, in 2 weeks. Like it was like so busy on learning to live with someone who was sick and dying. I mean, I know we're all dying, but knowing she's going to die soon, that you just stayed busy with another appointment, checking her, making sure she looked okay, this and that, right? That you didn't really have time to process the fact that, no, she's like going to die soon. So, okay. So she was staying with us for her last little bit. And so the nurses was telling me like, things are probably gonna sound like this. It might look like this. This is the stages that she'll go through as she starts to let go. She'll detach from you guys. She might not know where she's at. All these things. They were amazing. And she wasn't saying like, "Don't sleep in here," blah, 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 like super rude. She was just, I think she was trying to save my heart from like, you're gonna have to let go at some point, right? So, of course, after she left, my husband heard everything the nurse was saying and was like, "Yep." He's like, "I'm on it. I'll get you a bed." So I called my in-laws and got a twin bed brought in. My mother was already in the hospital bed within the room. Got a twin bed in there and stayed in there with her at night in my own bed. So she was comfortable because she did have some pain. Um, she would look at me at times and kind of be like, "Should I be breathing?" And then it was like, is this like part of it? Like, am I supposed to tell her no? Like, And I just was like, I mean, do you want to breathe? And she was like, no. Yeah. And I'm like, well, then just breathe, right? So her oxygen levels were getting a little lower before her body was starting to shut down. So they gave her just a nasal cannula. So, like the little guy that sticks in your nostrils and goes around the ears and comes down. My boys really liked seeing her have that. I think it was because it was like a sign of life, right? It was giving her air. Um, but it was driving her fucking insane because it was just like this thing on her. She was very claustrophobic, and it was like this thing on her she wanted to pull off. And um, she kept it on and kept it at a low dose. And she could get up and she came to the living room. She'd watch the kids kind of walk. And I had a 6-month-old. My youngest was 6 months at the time. Our other one was, they're a year and a half apart. So, you know, 2 years old was the next one up. And the other boys, so she's been gone 8 years. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I should have had this in my head. Like 17 and 12, 16 and 11. I should have that correctly. My other boys there, and she would come outside and sit on the porch just long enough that the cord could reach. It was about 2 weeks in, she wasn't able to get up as well, so we stuck a catheter. We had a catheter inserted, so she didn't have to get up to go to the bathroom anymore. She wasn't having any bowel movements because she wasn't eating like she used to. Then it was right after the 2 weeks on that first day, she would start trying to get up, but she had no bearing of her legs, like she was gonna fall. And so she just wanted that thing out of her. It was causing her a lot of stomach pain, things like that. So got the catheter out. Didn't give a shit how to get it out. We got it out. And then she started talking about locking her in the basement. She would grab me and be like, don't go. They're locking us in the basement. You don't want to be in the basement. And I'd be like, Mom. And I felt really uncomfortable. Like my stomach like turned, like, you know, when your stomach turns when you're like really uncomfortable in a situation, that's what it felt like because I've never had that. And I've never had her say that to me. And then for her to feel scared, I want to fix that. Right. And I was like, look, you're here. You're at my house. Do you know where you are? And this and that. And, you know, don't put us in the basement. Don't put us in the basement. And I was like, I would never put you in the basement. At this point, she'd come back and she knew who we were all the way up until the end. But it was when she started to try to get out of bed over and over again. It was on the 2 weeks and 2 days in. She started to try to get out of bed and yell, and I couldn't go to the bathroom without someone sitting in there with her because she tried to get up and she tried to get up. So I knew it was time that I needed to sedate her. And we had that in the fridge, ready when it was time to give her her dose. And we also had to give her pain meds, which I was very unaware of during the dying process because like the nurses were saying that she's going to feel a lot of pain, but sometimes you don't notice it because they're already so detached. She was pretty detached. She was pretty attached and knew all of us all the way up until the end, which was amazing. And once again, that's totally fucking how my mom would roll, right? And so it was time to sedate her. Yeah, you know, I think the part about sedating her was the biggest guilt I had because I didn't know that I did know it, but I didn't know it. You know, like I knew it, but like my heart was like, no, this woman die, please, right? Sedated her. No longer was she able to communicate, talk. She was completely unconscious, like breathing, but unconscious. Yeah, that fucking hit hard. Like, I'm never going to hear her voice again. Yeah, that was shitty. Nothing could have prepared me for feeling the guilt I felt for silencing her. Like, what I felt, that's what I felt. You can't, a lot of the things I felt, nobody could fucking tell me different. It's what I felt. It's what I witnessed. It's what I saw. Gave her pain meds every 4 hours, like I was supposed to. Ended up sleeping on the couch the last day because her noises she was making were so hard to hear as she would try to breathe. It was just so painful. Okay. I feel like there should be like enlightening music here. Um, so I heard from people like my mother had this amazing best friend, Bev, who is my godmother. And she was like, I think you need to go back to work. Like this was prior to, and I was cleaning houses at the time. This was prior to sedating her. And, I was like, no, I have to be here. I have to be here. And they're like, she's not going to go unless you leave. Like you know what I mean? You got to go. So I go in, and after she was sedated, I went to clean a house. And I went in, said goodbye, fucking bawling. Bev came to sit with her so I could go clean a house. And let me just tell you, I cleaned the shit out of that house. But as I was driving home, I didn't get a call that she passed. And I pulled in the driveway and I sat there and just started bawling because I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to fucking say hello again. I just said all those goodbyes. So then the next day, 2 weeks and 4 days later, I went to work. I went to clean another house. Billy was there, my husband, watching, taking care of my mother, giving her the meds, taking care of her. And I got home, pulled in the driveway. She's still alive at this point. Once again, not alert, breathing very agonally. So really loud and deep breaths. And my little voice, which was my little voice, whether it was her or my little voice, was like, I heard her say, I want to go now. You got to get this oxygen off me. I want to go now. I'm ready to go. And I rushed in, and Billy was in the kitchen. The little boys were crying. Hudson was outside in the backyard, my oldest. Easton was across the street. I could see him through her window playing with kids across the street. I opened up the door and said to Hudson, come and say goodbye. She's ready to go. And he's like, okay. So he comes in and kisses her, and the little ones are crying so much. And I tell my husband, I'm sorry, but I need to go in there. She's ready to go now. And he's like, okay. And I shut the door, and she wanted this thing off her. I didn't tell Easton because he was across the street, and you could see him like laughing and playing. And I did not want to take that away from him. And she took the oxygen off, or I took the oxygen off her, held her hand, not knowing how I would feel about her leaving her body and me touching her body. But it was so beautiful and natural being there. So one thing about my mom is she used to stick notes in our luggage when we would go on trips, camping trips, out of the state, country, all that stuff. Lunches, she'd stick little notes like, be good. I'll know what you did. I love you. All those things. And so when I sat there with her, it was a great week because my other siblings were able to come, and you have to say your goodbyes every time you leave because you just don't know. And I sat there rubbing and loving her and telling her that it's okay to go and that I can't stick notes in her luggage. Fuck. That I can't stick notes in her luggage where she's going. She's going to have to trust that we'll be watching and we'll know everything she's doing and we love her. And then I told her, it's okay. It's okay for you to go now. That everything that she's taught all of us, we're all going to be okay. Even though I was fighting it behind my teeth, it was still just like, we're all going to be okay because you loved us. And I was like, you brought us into this world. It's only my honor to take you to the next and wherever you go. And she literally took her last breath. Yeah. And that is where the bullshit starts. uh, that's when, when you go through things and you're like, wow, that's a lot of pain. And wow, like that was really tough. And then you go through something that actually is really painful and tough. And you're like, wow, that was fucking nothing. This is some motherfucking burning of the chest. Yeah, it was. I think we were so busy taking care of someone dying, we weren't ready for her to die. I mean, when the fuck would we be ready for her to leave? Never. It's been 8 years. Um, Clearly, the pain gets softer, but it sure as fuck is there. Like, wow, is it there? So I want to talk about loss a little bit. That was my journey with my mom. Um, I mean, there's so many other aspects of her, and so many things that brought her to want to be cremated, and her just amazingness that about her, and that could be fucking 10 chapters of her, right? But I wanted to talk about the loss and all the loss within it. You know, right after I lost her, and I'll say, because I'll speak for myself, after I lost her, I literally, thank God I had children. I don't, and Billy, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have someone else to take care of. Uh, it was fucking painful. My chest was on fire. You know, when you're used to calling someone, even like I said, like a marriage, a friend, a relationship, death, a divorce, whatever, you're used to calling someone. And when you go to pick up your phone and you're like, that person's not there anymore, it just becomes such an empty hole. And I know everyone grieves so different. And so I think one of the things, you have your anger, your denial, your acceptance, all those different things, those 5 stages of grief. There's 7 on Google now. There's 12 on Google now. There's so many. I think that my biggest role was the bargaining. I don't have that anymore. I did have that. I would say for a good 5 years of like, God, if I didn't sedate her, I wonder if I just could have, like, if something else would have, if it would have been better. I wonder if I would have, like, maybe took her to the doctor sooner for before, or if I would have done this, or, bargaining can be a lot of blaming too, right? And I blame myself for a lot of things, which I know she would smack me for. But yeah, just the loss of someone who was so profoundly loving and supporting me is no longer there. I mean, fuck, dude. That was the worst. And even more was the fact that I treated people around me absolutely terrible. Our pastor came over and was telling my husband at the time that, well, first off, he wasn't my husband at the time. He was my fiance. We weren't even married yet. That he was like, yeah, she's going to go through this. Megan's going to, be on this roller coaster. Grief is, a good 3 to 5 years. And I'm like, what the fuck? 3 to 5 years? And Billy's just very patient and just like, okay, we'll get through this. And I'm just like, 3 to 5 years? Like, I'm one of those just fucking stuff it. Let's move on, right? But because she was so fucking phenomenally integrated in her children's lives and in people's lives, she left such an imprint on who I am to this day. And why I am kind of the way I am on some things, I'll just blame her. But the loss. So yes, let's go to that. I was super, like I said, venomous is a great word, really venomous toward people. I wanted people to hurt. I didn't want to hold that. Plus, I also kind of would sit outside and like look and be like, the trees are moving and the sun comes up and it goes down. It's like, are you fucking serious? Like, people are going to work. I literally would say this. people are going to work and they're going to do their things in the world. They don't realize that that Sherry Reynolds just fucking died. Like, this is like the world should, like, you expected like the world to stop because yours stopped, right? And then all these books on how to grieve and how to let go. And I don't want to fucking let go. I don't want to fucking let go. I'm going to hold on to her forever. Like, so everything became her. It consumed me, which I know a lot of those things she would never have wanted. My in-laws were like, I need to use the F word very deep here, fucking very supportive of me. And I was very disrespectful to their love and time because I was so mad that my husband got to have his mother alive, but my mother wasn't alive. Oh man, there was a girl at the mall. My oldest son he likes to say this story. And she was bitching at her mom like really loud, like people saw. And I just went up to her and was like, I wish I could bitch at my mother, but my mother is dead, so I don't get to do that. And my son was like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm grieving. And I remember thinking that, like, I wanted everyone to know. I wanted everyone to hurt. I wanted everyone to feel pain. And I wanted everyone to feel guilty that, like, not everyone, and I mean, I'm over exaggerating now, but yeah, it probably was everyone. I know I had a lot of like people who would say things like, yeah, I'm really tired. And I'd be like, they're alive, aren't they? Or I have a headache. And I was like, must not hurt as bad as cancer probably does. Oh man, I just like fucking had that. I had that icky jacket I was putting on every day. My mother would have never been proud of that. But it was my way of working through it. And so that's kind of like the things I want to talk about, that it's your loss. Like, it's your fucking loss. It's not Googling how we lose, how it should look, where it should feel, when it goes away. Even on one of those things, it said acceptance. I don't think I mean, yeah, I know she's gone. So is that an acceptance? Or is it just one of those things where I'm like, I'm a daughter who doesn't have a mother? Like, but I'm not accepting of like, let's go skip around the, neighborhood on Mother's Day. It's definitely, I know she's gone, but I tend to try to celebrate her within my kids. And when they go through things, I really wish she was here to see it. And I know people say, she's here, she sees it. It's like, that's not what I'm looking for. It's I physically want her here and to see it. It's not the same. It's not the same, right? But it's your loss. And I remember someone told me once, like, well, I mean, sometimes you just gotta go and do things and try to shake it off. And I'm like, fuck, what? What? Oh, you wait till you lose your fucking mom, right? You wait till you lose your mom. Because it was like, someone was like, yeah, I've lost, a friend. And, and I'm like, oh yeah, you wait till you lose your mom. But I want to honor your loss. Really, your loss. It doesn't have to look like mine. It shouldn't. And it can be painful and no pain. And, and there's even times I still look around the world and see people and I'm like, how is this fucking person alive and my mom's gone? What the hell is going on? But honoring how your heart feels. Like, when you feel something, fucking feel it. I tried to stuff it. I tried to cry in the silence with my husband more than with my kids or my siblings. And really try to, get a tattoo, get another tattoo of her. And I could hear her go, I'm still dead, right? I literally did hear her say that. But I feel that now in the world that we're in, it's like, oh, you lost someone. Well, here's your day to grieve. And then, let's get back to it. Let's just get out there. And now don't fucking get out there. Feel it. Integrate yourself in it. Get in the icky mushy and let your heart fucking absorb all the wonderful and amazing things about that life. that you had with, that person. And however you want to honor them, honor them. You got to really just fuck what people think and take what your heart needs. If I were to have listened, and I know people were only doing it out of love of like, you know what? Let's just go do this. It'll make you feel better. And it was just more like, like if there was like a dog foaming at the mouth, don't touch me. And I know it was their way, but I had to honor my way. And it might have been a really long path for me, but it was my path of loss. It brings me to, feel sad for my kids to know one day they're going to feel what I felt. Or when I hear people who have lost their loved ones, mother, father, siblings, friend, lately, I'm like, oh, thank God I'm 8 years in because that shit's fucking so hard. I couldn't imagine starting fresh again and feeling that. Losing my mother made me just know that death is so profoundly beautiful, that it's not scary and gross and morbid and like this dead body laid there. She was warm and beautiful, and her like salt and pepper hair and her skin, her hands, she was beautiful all the way until the end. And I still go through that process of that loss every once in a while. It's not gone. I can feel it coming up in me again. But today, I celebrate her with hugging my children a little longer and appreciating the threads that do bring all of us together in the world. Because, like I said, my loss is going to look different than someone else's. But I want you to know that honoring who you are and how you feel is exactly how it should look for you. I know I said this and I'm going to say it again. Fuck what anyone else thinks. Yes, do what you need to do for you. Talk to people if you need to. You might not know who I am, or you can reach out to me. I want to bring so much more to these podcasts about you, about subjects that make us amazing and wonderful. And my mother is just one of the things that has made me dynamically fucking amazing and beautiful. It's exactly what it is. And so I wanted to talk about not having that and honoring that in the way I know best. And that's by being my true self and being the best version of who I am. And then taking a step further and being another better version and a better and a better and a better, and keep going with that. So to wrap it up, loss. I know I touched on the loss of a parent, my mother, and very short because I could go on for fucking days about her. But it'll come out in all the other podcasts. But just letting you know you are not alone. You are not alone in your journey, in your pain, which makes me sad for you if you're in your first year, your first week, your first day. The pain, the achiness, the burning. Someone asked me once, does it go away? And it's like, you want to say yes. And then you see the light and it's amazing. No, it doesn't. Just some days it feels like you maybe forgot your keys. Like you're like, God, I'm forgetting something. I feel like I'm forgetting something. And it's just because you're forgetting, a part of me is gone. But I want you to know you're not alone. So many people feel pain with loss. And you are an amazing fucking person. And how you grieve, if you're still in the guilt and it's been 2 years, that's for you to have. That's for you to honor. You need help getting out of it, ask for help. maybe, or just get it out to somebody, you know, um, find your way. Like I said, you might not know who I am on a personal level. Hey, I'm here for you. You can always reach out to me. I'm more than happy to listen and, uh, of course, keep it completely confidential, but honor you in everything you do and keep moving fucking forward and up. Moving forward is not a disrespect to the ones we lost. Moving forward and up is it's a to me, moving forward and up and driving myself forward and being mouthy and diligent and persistent and controlling and beautiful and wonderful is all my ways of honoring everyone who I have lost, but it's also honoring my mom that I got this. I got this. You know, one saying she liked I had tattooed on my arm, uh, which is, I'm going to leave you with it, and it's amazing and it's wonderful, is she said, when you no longer need me but want me, I will be there. But when you no longer, because I'm about to get emotional, so I'm going to mess it up. Let's just start over. Here we go. I'm not going to make eye contact on this. Here we go. When you no longer, oh my gosh, and I should get my glasses on. Oh my gosh. Okay, people, let's be serious here for a minute. When you have to get your readers out to read your tattoo, that's another acceptance. Are we ready? Oh, look at that. The words appear. When you need me but don't want me, I will be here. When you no longer need me but want me, I must go. Yeah, it was the fact that I didn't need her anymore. I wanted her forever, but I didn't need her. Everything she gave me, I already had. I knew how to raise those kids. I still know how to raise those kids. I knew how to be the person I need to be because I didn't need her. I just wanted her. So as you move into your days and your nights and your grief and your loss, I fucking love you. I'm on your side. I fucking got you. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. But honor the beauty in the people who have come into our life and honor the ones we've lost. Wasn't going to end crying. Oh, no, I wasn't. I appreciate your time. You're going to notice that I'm going to be bringing in other people into some episodes coming up. It's going to be a roundtable discussion of a few people. We're going to have some topics. It's going to be amazing. And I actually am looking on my Instagram for certain people that I'm going to be bringing onto these podcasts because I want you to get to know your people we live amongst and not just one person as myself. So as I take a deep breath, I'm not going to leave this podcast crying. A little bit I am, and that's fucking fine. But I do love you, honor you, appreciate you. I don't have to know who the fuck you are to love you and honor you. I definitely don't. I'd be happy to. But I do love and celebrate you and make it a great fucking day and love everybody you can while you fucking can. Have a good one.